Church, I know that, man, you never can predict the weather. Uh, this morning at our house, we live in Nicholsville, and we had just like a blanket of snow. My wife, she woke me up, and she's like, man, it's snowing outside. I was like, psst. And I looked, and I was like, oh, it is. And on the weather map, it showed, Virginia and all that, and it showed that it was raining. And I was like, huh, that's weird. The weather people, they get stuff wrong. And it's like, man, ever since Johnny Wood left WCYB, they can't get it right with nothing. Or do you remember growing up watching Johnny Wood? He was like, please say there's no school. Please say there's no school. Johnny Wood was the man. And I remember growing up whenever it was snow on Sunday morning. My dad was a pastor, and me and my brother, we'd be aggravating him. Are we going to have church? Are we going to have church? And he'd be like, yeah. And then on the occasion, he'd say no, and we'd be like, we would get really, really excited. And then I noticed something this morning because my girls, they saw the snow, they got excited, but they didn't ask if we were having church because they know we are. But they asked instead, can we play in the snow when we get back? I'm like, yeah. And I thought, man, what a difference of attitude in that. What a difference in attitude. Now, I like my dad. I like the church. That was great. It wasn't nothing like that. But it's just our attitudes. Our attitudes say so much about who we are and what we are, and it gives off to others what they can expect from us. Our attitudes. And that's why this series has been so important about what we focus on. Have you ever seen somebody that's focused on something and you're like, man, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. For example, if you have a hole in your roof and it's leaking and it's the rain and stuff's coming in and you're like, man, you need to get that roof fixed. But all they're worried about is cleaning out the refrigerator. You're like, that doesn't make sense. You're focusing on this, but this is what really matters. This is it, but the refrigerator, you're like, man, that can wait. And that's what we struggle with going through life, is about what we need to focus on. And see, there's different areas in our life that if we focus on that, other things come together. We spent this past several weeks talking about 5 areas. Today's going to be the number 5th one. 5 areas of our life that we must focus on. And that if you don't focus on it, it's not going to get done. But also, if any one of them we let go, it's going to affect every area of our life. We start out the first week talking about God, our relationship with God. It is foundational, our relationship with God. That the only way your relationship with God is going to get any better is if you focus on it. You can't expect God just to do all the work. You got to do your part. Isn't that what you tell your family and all that? When it's time to clean the house, hey, I'm going to do this. You do your part. Like, I'm going to clean my room, kids, but I'm not going to clean yours. It's not my room. That's your underwear. That's your bed. Now, you go do that. I'm going to do my part. And that's the same thing with our relationship with God, and so we're going to focus on that. And we gave you different opportunities in a way that you could do that. We spent the second week talking what I think is the second most important, and that is how we manage our money, because so many people struggle with finances. The number one cause of divorce all across America is over money. Finances, the way that we handle it. Somebody thinks we need to spend our money on this versus this, and we end up spending all of our money, not having any left. So the way that we manage our money. Because if you get that time in your life that you're flat broke, it's going to affect your relationship with God and everything else, because you're going to be a grunt because you ain't got no money. We spent our third week talking about something very important. We came into church that Sunday, and we found out that we were out of propane. We didn't have any heat. So thank God we have heat and propane this morning. Yay! So we moved everything out. We're out in the foyer, and we're talking about our relationships, our friends. And that these friends really define who you are, because the people you hang around, that's who you're like, whether you admit it or not. Those people will influence you in either a positive or a negative way. Those people. And we need the right people. Some people, we said we need to go ahead and get them out of our life. They're bad influences. They're not good for us. They're actually hurting us. We need to remove them from our lives. Others, we said we're going to love them from a distance. We're just going to be nice and cordial. Hey, how are you? What's up? But it's going to be from over there. You're not going to be invited to my table, and we're not going to eat together. Then we said the other thing that we need to do is if we have those right relationships, we need to bring those people in. Talk to them. Celebrate their birthday. Send them a birthday card. Christmas gift. Sing to them. Something. We're going to let them know and appreciate them and work on that relationship. And then Last week we talked about something very important, and I know that many of you have commented that you've never heard anything quite like that before, especially at a church when we're talking about focusing on our health. Because see, if we don't focus on our health, it's going to affect every area of our life, because if we're not well, you can't come to church, you can't work, you don't really want to talk to people, because when you get sick, all you want to do is make you a bed on the couch and watch something dumb on TV and eat chicken noodle soup. That's all you want to do. Maybe saltine crackers. You just want to be left alone. You actually get aggravated when somebody comes and checks on you. You're like, yeah, if I need you, I'll ring the bell, something, but just leave me alone. I'm in my sick pity party, and leave me alone. So our health really affects us. And we talk about it's not so much about how we are throughout our life, but it's like what we take in. The things that we take in, not just watching what we eat, but how we take care of our bodies. And the most important thing that we learn is that through our bodies, it's an act of worship to God, the way that we take care of our bodies. And then this morning, today, we talk about something that's equally as important to all these areas of our life. Because if any one area is off, it's going to throw everything else off. It's going to throw your relationships off. It's going to throw your relationship with God off. It's going to throw your relationship with church off. It's going to throw how you manage your money off. Because it's something that we all must do. And that is work. We must work. We have to work. I remember when I was 18 and graduating, and I remember telling people, and especially my boss at the time, I was like, my goal in life, I want to retire at 35. And y'all are laughing at me. That was my goal. So far, I've missed it by 3 years, but I got a new game plan. But we have to work. We have to work. And we work so that we can make money, and we make money so that we can live, so that we can have a place to go home to, so we can have, a nice warm place that's safe and dry. We have food on our table, and that we can have a vehicle that's safe enough to get to work and travel with the wife and the kids, and we want to make sure that, we have the things in life that we need. We must work. And this is the reason why we do work. And that's why we have to focus on our work. But the problem is sometimes our focus on work can be out of focus. Sometimes it can consume us, or we can have the wrong attitude going through it. Work. And I remember I started working, I don't remember when I started working on the farm with Dad, but I'm going to say I was very little. Very, very little. Very little. I know he's watching online, and I told him the other day, I said, I know I talk about working on the farm a lot and all that, and I said, I love you. You didn't drive us like slaves, even though at the time I felt like it. And we worked hard. We worked hard. And then when I was 16, I remember getting my driver's license, and I was in high school, and I wanted, an adult job, a check that I could get every week. So my first job was working at a grocery store. And some of you seen, if you drive through Gate City, Thriftway. I worked for the big grocery store, Thriftway, and I bagged groceries. That's what I did. And then I had to go get buggies out of the parking lot and bring them in. I had to mop the floors and sweep every night that I worked. And if it was raining, I offered to take your groceries outside, and most people took me up on it. And I remember taking these groceries. It was pouring down rain, and this man asked me if I would take his groceries out. Yes, sir. So he didn't bring the car up. We had to go to the far end of the parking lot. And here I was standing, torrential downpour. It was like the flood in Noah. It was just horrendous. It was just unbelievable, soaking wet. And I was getting ready to run back in. I had the bug get ready to run. He said, hold on, young man. I want to give you a little something. I was like, all right. And he pulled out of his pocket, and he took his wad of dollars, and he moved them over to this pocket, and I went, uh-oh. He looked in there, and he looked for a second, and he was doing this, thumbing through there. And he gave me a quarter. A quarter. I couldn't even buy a Coke with it. It's 50 cents. A quarter. I just walked as slow as I could back into that store. And I was like, man, what am I going to do with a quarter? And I looked, the only thing I could buy was a one piece of that Bubble Young wrapped up in a single piece. I bought it with a quarter. And I did. And I chewed it. And I was like this. I was so mad. And in that store, it was air conditioned. You're soaking wet. So I was so cold. So cold. And it was during the summer. my attitude changed there because that day it flipped and I got bitter. See, I was all eager and decided, yeah, I'll help you and I'll do this, but then it changed. And at this first job I had one of these. This was a time card. So at the end of your pay period or whatever, you would get a new card. You'd write your name on it and the date, that the start date of your pay period. So that was the start date. And you walk back to, your employee break or whatever. You would stick it in, and you have an AM and the PM or AM and noon about when you clocked in. And so you would stick it under there and pull a lever down, and it would timestamp it. This is old school, and this is a brand new card, never been used. And I found it because this actually belongs to Colonial Downs. And this is old school. Clock in, clock out, and there was no denying it. When it was time to work, it's time to work. But I wonder how much have us the right or wrong attitude about work. If I were to ask you about your work, what would you tell me? You like what you do, you don't like what you do, it's rewarding, it's not rewarding. All you're there is just to get a paycheck and go home. What would you say if I were to sit down and ask you, tell me about your work? What would you say? If I were to talk to, one of your supervisors, if I were to talk to some of your coworkers, what would they tell me about your attitude at work? Do we have the right attitude? Do we have the wrong attitude? Are we going through life just going through the motions at work just to make it to retirement? Because I'm telling you, if we're in that place and we're not satisfied and getting that place in our life with our work that feels like that we're beating a dead horse, that's a long time to be miserable at your work. So I've been at my job currently right now for 15 years. I've got many more to go. So let's just say I got 15 more to go. I can retire in 15 more years. So I got 15 more to go. So 15 years. And if I'm in a job that I'm miserable in, could you imagine being miserable going to work for 15 more years? Miserable. But yet there's people that do it every day. Not living that job that they find peace and fulfillment at. Or maybe we're going through it with the wrong attitude. See, your attitude and the way that you view your work is so important. Now, we all have to do one thing or another. We all have to pay our mortgage or our car payments and buy food, and we want to supply our kids with what they need and school supplies and make sure that we have everything that they need for their dance recitals or for their basketball games, or make sure that we have money saved up in case the washing machine breaks or something like that. But the way that we view our work is going to be passed on not only to our kids, but even the environment that you work in. The way you view your work can spur a change in attitudes around the people that you work with. Just the way that you work. Just the way that you work. So if I were to ask you, how's your attitude when it comes to your work, what would you say? Now, some of you kids are like, man, I ain't got a job yet. Well, enjoy it while it lasts, because there's coming a day you're going to work and you're going to pay your own power bill. Yes, you are. If we see our work as something more than just a job, just get it through, I think it changes everything. Because see, the way you work not only represents just you, but it represents you, your family, it represents your parents, it represents your church, your God. The way that you work represents so much about you. As a matter of fact, the way you work will say more about you than what you say about you. The way you work. A friend of mine, Rodney Baker, he says, if you get down, you work with somebody, and that'll show you what kind of man or woman they are. It'll show you what kind of character that they've got. If they care about their work, if they do it right way or wrong, if they use the phrase, it's good enough. Or if they say, no, that's not right, let's do it right. The way you work. See, if we're going through life and we're having this meaningful work, our attitude can be different. But if we're just going through life just so we can make more money, so that we can spend more money, I think we're going to find ourselves miserable. Here's what Solomon had to say about that very fact. He said this in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 17. He says, so I came to hate life because everything done here under the sun is so troubling. Everything is meaningless, like chasing the wind. Now, Solomon was the wisest man that's ever lived, the wisest man on earth that we know of, the wisest man. He became king over Israel. He succeeded his father, King David. And when he took over the throne, God asked him and said, Solomon, I'm going to grant you any wish that you want. You tell me what you want, I'm going to give it to you. And he asked for this. He said, God, grant me wisdom. I can rightly govern and lead your people. And he said, Solomon, since you asked for that, not only am I going to give you this wisdom, But I'm going to give you all the glory and the fame and the riches that go along with it. And no one is ever going to come close to being as rich and famous as what you are. Kings will travel all from other countries just to see Solomon and his wisdom and his fortune. And he said this about life. Now remember, here's somebody that could buy anything that they wanted. And he said, man, I hate life. Now, we kind of envy other people that may be rich. We're going to watch a football game tonight. These people that make billions of dollars playing with a piece of leather. And they've got a humongous house. And they've got fleets of cars. They've got more shoes than they could wear in a year. I mean, it's just unreal what they've got. And we almost envy that. But here's Solomon, who had all the same stuff, even more than that. He said, I've come to hate life because everything done under the sun is so troubling. See, more stuff does not mean happiness. It means more trouble. More trouble. There was a study done about lottery winners, people that won the lottery, and most were bankrupt within 10 years. Could you imagine that? Winning $100 million and you think, man, I'm not going to have any troubles ever again. But being bankrupt within 10 years? Wow, what a sad reality is. And here's the sad reality. If we're just working to accumulate stuff, we will be miserable. Because that stuff is going to wear out. That stuff is going to get old. That stuff is not going to satisfy this raging need that we have of peace. Now look what on he said. He said, I've come to hate life because all this stuff is meaningless. But look, he said, everything is so meaningless. Everything is meaningless, like chasing the wind. You're never going to catch it. And here's the trap of working to accumulate stuff. It's a never-ending trap. There's always going to be another purse. There's always going to be another shoes. There's always going to be another outfit. There's always going to be a bigger house. There's always going to be a prettier car. There's always going to be a new couch. There's always going to be something that you could just spend this money on. And he's saying that's meaningless. So could you imagine going through a job, not only that is meaningless, that you not find a meaning in it, but then everything that you gain from it, you don't get any meaning from that either. See, your attitude and the way you work is so vital, not only to your health, but to the environment that you create around you, your work. Your work. Now, if I were to ask you what your work is, and some of us would have no clue what other people do. No people do. I mean, we have no idea what they do. I mean, they could give you the term, definition like, I'm a nuclear physicist. I have no idea what that person does. They're going to be smart. I know that much. I'm a network engineer. That's what I do. And so you're like, what is that? I thought you was a preacher. I am that too, but how I make my living is I'm a network guy. That's what I do. And some of you have all these other different jobs that you do, and I have no idea what it is that you do, but you do. Now, how do you view your work? Is it important to you? Is it something you see that it's meaningful, that you put into life? He said, now not only is all this stuff, it's meaningless, but it's like chasing the wind. Chasing the wind. It's like you never can get ahead. You feel like you never can get to that spot that you can go, I can breathe. See, this is where we have to make sure that our attitude is in check when it comes to our jobs, our work. And some of you here, you may be retired and you've done your deed. You put in the years. You've done that. I congratulate you. And now you can enjoy those fruit of those hard labors. So we're not talking about the gloriness of the job or how much money you make, because I know some people who make less than $20,000 a year and they are happy. They live within their means and they are happy. I know other people that make north of $75,000 a year and they are in debt up to their eyeballs and miserable. They're always talking to me about the next thing they're going to get, or if they could just do this or just do that, get their family, just do here. And they never can find that peace. So it's not the job that you have, it's your attitude in it. How you value your work. Do you see yourself as being valuable at your job? Valuable at your work? Valuable. Valuable. Well, here's what Paul said in Ephesians. I like this. He said this in Ephesians chapter 2. He said, for we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so that we can do the good things He has planned for us long ago. masterpiece. Now, I know that all of us have different talents and abilities. We all have different talents and abilities. I can do electrical work. I can do that, but I choose not to. Now, my dad is we remodeled our house a few years ago, and it seems like I talk about my dad a lot. I love you, Dad. I really, really do. And we were working, and we were finishing the basement. We were wiring up these outlets, and he said, son, here, you need to go ahead and hook up these outlets on here. And I'm like, Dad, I'm out. I'm not an electrician. I know my limits. He said, son, all you got to do is connect 3 wires to the outlet. Put it in there, screw it into the outlet box, put the faceplate on, and you're done. You just walk away. It's like, Dad, I don't know. I don't like this. Every time I do it, something goes wrong. Son, I turn all the breakers off. Nothing can go wrong. Okay, Dad. Okay. I get my screwdriver. I go up there to it. I got my cutters, and I'm going to strip the wire back. I go back to strip the wire, and he forgot one breaker. It lit me up. My body just tingled because I relived that. Dad, I told you I'm not an electrician. I know my limits. I know I'm smart. But God didn't give me the gift of knowing electricity. You do it. I'll put the outlet covers on. And he went over and he flipped that breaker box off. He said, now go back and do it. And so I went back. I was doing this. I did it to every outlet. I know that I'm not good at that. I can do it, but I'm not good at that. But it says that we're God's masterpiece. I think there's things that we're all good at. We're talented at. Whether we realize that or not, there's things that we can do and things that we can't do. And we know our limits and our abilities, and so we pursue the things that we're good at, and the things that we're not good at, we have a buddy that can do that. So whenever I need electrical work, you know who I call? My neighbor. Hey, John, I need some help here, bud. If I call Dad, he's going to make me do it. I call John. Hey, John, I need somebody here. I need some help. Okay, what are you doing? And he's like, all you got to do, this is phase 2, and you just got to hook this. I don't care. I just want you to hook it up. Let me know when I can flip the switch on. I know my limits. Now look at this. He said, for we are God's masterpiece. Now, I'm not a good electrician, but I'm good. I can work on a computer. I can fix a network. I'm good at that. Do you view yourself as being God's masterpiece? You talk about the way that you value who you are and what you do. God's masterpiece. This is what he says about you. You are God's masterpiece. That means there is so much good in you and so much potential in you. All you got to do is just see it. Know your limits. I'm not an electrician. I know my limits. I will not help you wire up your house. But I got a guy. You got breaks down with something messed up with your car. I can somewhat fix brakes and change. I can do little things. But for everything else, I got a guy. I'm going to call another John. Hey, John, I need you, bud. I know my limits. But when it comes to other things, God's masterpiece. Church, if you would view yourself as God's masterpiece, you're talking about changing the way you work. God's masterpiece. God's masterpiece. For we are God's masterpiece. Now look at this now. Look at the rest of it. For we are God's masterpiece, and he has created us anew in Christ Jesus. I love this. He says so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. We can have a good work. And it doesn't matter what that work is, but we can be good at it. We can know it. We can do it. A good work. See, you're God's masterpiece. You find out what you're good at, and you get a job doing this, and you're good at it. God created you for this and have a perfect plan for your life. And sometimes it might take you a little trial and error to figure it out, what that is. But man, you get in there and you figure that out, man, you run for it. You go for it. I have other interesting things in my life that, I'm hobby around with, the things that I like. I'm good at math. I'm probably making a good accountant, but I'm good with my numbers. I just don't want to mess with your numbers. So I know my limits. But if we could view ourselves as God's masterpiece, could you imagine how that would change our work? How many people do you know, and I don't want you to raise your hand, but how many people do you know that whenever you see them, you know they're going to complain about their job, their work? every Sunday or every Monday, they're just like, God, I got to go to work again. Man, it's the wrong attitude. We are God's masterpiece. We shouldn't hate our work. We shouldn't hate it. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? Sometimes you're in a tight spot and you need to do things you don't like to provide for your family. You go do those things. You do what's necessary to get it done. I've been there. You do it. But we're talking about after you get your family, you get your house in order and things in order. I'm talking about doing something and living within your means and doing something that you see yourself as God's masterpiece. God's masterpiece. I think my wife has figured this out. She is a stay-at-home mom, and we homeschool our kids, and she is God's masterpiece at what she does. It's amazing. It's amazing. And to watch now, she's taught all of our girls how to read. She taught them how to read. I can't do that. I can tell you what 4 times 4 is, but I can't tell you how to pronounce dog. You just do it. I mean, I can't do it. She taught them how to read. Could you imagine how awesome that is? To read. My Kayla, she's 5 years old, and she read a whole sentence about a pig being stuck in the mud, and I'm like, wow, my wife is God's masterpiece, and she done that. Your masterpiece, your work could be doing anything. I know some people who are amazing metal fabricators. They can take a pile of metal and they can do something amazing with it. I know other people that are amazing physicians. I know other people that are great working for the power company. I know other people that are unbelievable nurses. They will take care of you and make sure that you got everything that you need. Even though they've got way too many patients, they're going to make sure you get taken care of. It's amazing. I know other people, they answer the phone at work every day. Every day, just answer the phone at work and tending the people. And they always have a smile on their face. Just, if you can find your masterpiece and that God created you for and do that, church, I'm telling you, He's got this. Look at what He said. He said, we can do the good things He has planned for us long ago. The good things. See, we're too important. God created us for too much just to go through life so we can accumulate. I remember talking to my brother-in-law, Tony. This was several years ago. He went to college to speak to these students. And they were so, I was asking him about it, and all they wanted to know was how they could skip through the corporate ladder or skip through things so they can gain ahead. And he's like, listen, guys, you got the wrong attitude. It's not about that. It's about doing what you can do, what you love, and doing it the very best you can, and that's it. That's it. You do what you do, and you do it with excellence, the very best you can, because it represents you, your family, who you are. It represents your parents, your grandparents. It doesn't matter. It represents you. I remember when my grandfather died, he was a custodian. He was a custodian out of school for years. And I don't know how much money he made. When I came along, he was retired. And he was this custodian. And I remember at his funeral, and all these different people that were talking and saying things, and there wasn't so much talking about how he did his job, but it was the side things that he did while doing his job. Encouraging people, helping this one out, helping a student out here, doing our work. See, our attitude and the way that we view that can be so important. I know some other custodians, and they hate it. They come into their place of work like, God, I got to mop again. Or, man, the trash can's full again. And in the back of my mind, I'm going, what do you get paid for? Like this is your job. This is your job. If that's the same thing, could you imagine your doctor coming in like, God, why are you here? You sick again? Yeah. I mean, taking your car to the mechanic shop, you're like, man, you're broke down again? You're like, man, I got to work on it again. Hey, listen, here's the way it works. I bring my broke car to you. You fix it. I write you a check. You get paid. But yeah, they're bickering and complaining about it. Your attitude says so much about who you are. Your attitude. Church, I'm telling you, if we have health and we can get to work, then we should be able to enjoy working. And if you're in that spot that you are just not at peace and you despise your job, please listen. Do not do anything drastic and say, my preacher told me to quit my job because I don't like it. I am not telling you that. Don't do anything drastic. Don't do anything drastic. I don't want you to call me up and say, PJ, I quit my job and now I can't find one. I'm sorry, I cannot help you. Okay. I want you to understand this. If you're in that spot that you find yourself dreading work, dreading what you have to do, not having, I mean, you deal with trouble or you deal with trouble calls or whatever, and your phone rings like, God, here's somebody else with another problem. And if you find yourself dreading all that, and it takes so much out of you, I'm going to tell you, don't do anything drastic, but seek God. Now, I want you to understand this. We know about David. David is the one who killed the giant Goliath, okay? It's mostly believed he was somewhere around 12 years old when he slayed Goliath, David. Now, before David killed the giant, he was anointed to be the new king of Israel. So Israel had this king. His name was Saul. Saul did some things that God didn't like. So God told the prophet Samuel, said, Samuel, I am choosing a new king. Saul is a disgrace. I'm choosing a new king, and I want you to go anoint him. So Samuel goes on this journey, and he goes to this farm of Jesse. And he goes to Jesse and says, Jesse, I'm going to offer a sacrifice. Gather up all your sons, and we're going to offer a sacrifice. And so he says, okay. And he goes and gathers his sons up. And God tells Samuel, and he says, Samuel, I'm going to have these sons that pass in front of you, and the one that I tell you is king, anoint him. So these sons pass in front of Samuel, and God says, no, none of these are it. So he turns to Jesse. He said, Jesse, is all your sons? He said, yeah. And he said, well, are you sure? He said, well, no, there's the youngest, David. He's out in the field. He said, go get him. He got him, and he came up, and he passed in front of Samuel. And as soon as he did, God said, that is the one. So Samuel took this oil and anointed him king over Israel. And I remember he was around 12 years old. After that, we see him playing the harp for King Saul. We see him slaying the giant. But I want you to get this. He was going to be the new king. He's going to be the new king. And we want things to happen right now, right? We want a job promotion right now. We want that new job right now. We want our kids to mind and obey right now. But it takes time. It took 7 years before David would be king over Israel. 7 years. If you're in that place right now that you're not in that sweet spot where you can do what God has called you to do, you're not in that sweet spot where you're enjoying what you do, I'm telling you, don't do anything drastic. Just be patient. Don't do anything drastic. Just be patient. It took David 7 years. And during those 7 years, he had to run for his life. As a matter of fact, at one point, he had to fight for his life. The king was sending an entire army to kill one man. David had to run for his life. And he was going to be the chosen king. 7 years. There's another man in the Bible named Joseph. Joseph was the favorite of his daddy. He was the youngest son. And he had this coat that his dad made him of many colors. And whenever he was young, he had this dream. He had this dream that these bundles of wheat bowed down to this one bundle of wheat. And he went and he told his brothers and his parents about this. He said, I dreamed this dream. And his dad laughed and said, what do you think? We're going to bow down to you? He had another dream about these stars and the sun and the moon, and they bowed down to this one star. And God told Joseph that he was going to be a ruler and that his parents were even going to bow down to him. That his parents would bow down to him. Well, it created jealousy. So they took him, threw him in a pit, sold him as a slave. He was presumed dead. Later on, he got wrongfully imprisoned. Later on from that, he got forgotten in prison. And it took him 13 years before he saw the promise of God. 13 years. You're in that place in your job right now that is not meaningful to you, and you think that, man, I got to get out of this place. I'm telling you, be patient and allow God to guide you. You're going to have to trust Him. So if you're in that place, if you're not in that sweet spot of your work where you're enjoying it, feel like it's rewarding, be patient. And the second thing, trust God. Look at this verse. It says, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5, it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek His will in all you do, and He will show you which path to take. Trust God. I love this. If we will trust God, do our very best. You're at a job right now, and if you don't like it, I don't care. Do your very best. That's representing you. Do your very best. Whatever that is, do your very best. If you're going to do something, do it right. Do it your very best. Remember, it represents you, your family, your kids, your wife, your church, your God. It represents all. It represents your great-great-daddy. It does. I'm telling you. You're in that spot. Just trust God. Be patient. Don't do anything drastic, and trust God. He says, if we'll just seek God through this and trust Him, He will guide us on which path to take. He'll guide us on which path to take. Now, I'm going to give you a personal example from me. A few years ago, there was a job opened up at this certain place, and had an opportunity. I was going to make quite a bit more money. And in my mind, I saw dollar signs, but I'm thinking, God, this is a great potential. You've put this opportunity in front of me. This is great. And the whole time, my wife was going, I don't know. Your church is in Scott County. You work in Scott County. You see Scott County. I don't think that may be right, but I'm going to support you through this. And the back, oh yeah, honey, it's great because with this more money, we could pay this off, and we could put all this money back in retirement and say it'd be great. It'd be great. God's all over this. You ever tried to justify actions and say God's on it? Went through the interview process and all that, and thankfully, by the grace of God, I did not get the job. I was pursuing dollar signs. I was not pursuing the peace of God, which path to take. Now, if you look at this verse, he says, look, if we'll seek to understand through him, do not depend on your own understanding, but seek to do his will, he will show you which path to take, if you'll just trust him. Some of you here today, and I'm going to speak to you kids specifically right now, all you kids, you have no idea what you want to do with your life. It's okay. The one time that I remember me and my dad ever getting in an argument was over college. He was like, son, you're going to college. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm going to go out and make money. He went, nope, you're going to school. I said, Dad, I don't even know what I want to do. I have no idea. He said, it don't matter. You're going. You want me to go and just take stuff? He went, yep, that's what I want you to do. I was like, that is the ridiculous thing I've ever heard. He said, yep, you're going. Fine. I went, general studies, and he finally sat me down and said, son, if you could do any job you want, what would it be? And I said, anything? I said, I'll never get it. He said, it doesn't matter. If you could do anything that you want, what would you do? And I went, well, I want Mike Smith's job for Scott County Schools. That's what I want. I want Mike Smith's job. That's what I want to do. He went, all right, then you need to get yourself ready. Prepare yourself. You're going to go to school, and this is what you're going to do. I was like, okay. So I traced him through this. I went to Mountain Empire under general studies because they didn't have anything for computers then. It was just before they had all that now. So anyway, going to school under general studies. Well, then all of a sudden they came out the next year and said, hey, we're offering computer classes and networking. I went, that's what I'm going to do. Hey, Dad, look at this. And he said, I told you. So anyway, yes, Dad, you were right. So I took all these classes, and it was great. And then it took me a while because I struggled through here. It took me 5 years to get a 2-year degree, okay? That's how hard of a battle this was. So 5 years to get a 2-year degree, and I finally went, got it all done. And then I was working at this computer store, got married, everything was great. And place I was working at, things wasn't working out so well. And the store was struggling. My paycheck started bouncing. I took another job, a humongous pay cut. It was really horrible, bad, but we were making it. We were getting by. And my dad called me. He said, son, there's the open for Scott County Schools. I'm like, okay. Dad, I can't teach. He went, no. It's Mike Smith. He's retiring. I said, Dad, he's like 40. He went, it doesn't matter. He's retiring. He's got health problems. He's getting out. There's a job opening. I was like, wow. I went in and put an application, and I remember getting a phone call. Hey, we need you to come in for an interview. I was like, yes, I'll be there. They got me a new outfit for Christmas. I'll wear that. And I went February for this job interview. I sat down at this big old table with all these other people. And I got the job. As a matter of fact, I got the dream job that I just told my dad 4 years earlier that I wanted. 4 years. And I got it. I don't know what I did to deserve it. But it does say this now. If we'll seek his will in all you do, he will show you which path to take. Church, I'm telling you. There's a time in our life that we can find a sweet spot when we're doing what God has called us to do. Not only that, we can do the work that God has created us to do. I'm living my dream job. I don't make tons of money, but I have a house, food. Our girls have clothes. Nobody's running around naked. They got naked baby dolls, but everybody's clothed. We got a car. We can put gas in it. Our needs are met. And I go to work the smile on my face. Now, I'm painting a pretty picture. Everybody gets frustrated with their job from time to time and thinking, man, if I could do it my way, we'd all do this, this. Everybody gets frustrated. That's not what we're talking about. But when you can do a good work and know that you can put all you've got into it, all you got into it. Man, you're talking about a sweet spot. When you can go to work and be happy. When you can go to work and enjoy what you do. This is what it's about, enjoying what you do. And as we enjoy what we do, we have the right attitude. Look at Colossians 3:23. It says this, work willingly at whatever you do as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people. Now get this. How many times have you seen somebody at work and they get asked to do something? They have a job now, okay? Have a job. They get asked to do something. So let's just say you have a nurse and it's her job to go get a patient out of a room and to bring them back there. You know, you do your the cuff thing, blood pressure. They're going to check their the temperature, you know, or they stick the thing in the ear. They're going to do those things, you know, right in your chart. Hey, what's wrong? Okay, could you imagine? Doctor comes up and say, okay, nurse Nancy, so-and-so, call them back. Okay. Do I have to? Why don't you get Sue to do it? She ain't done nothing all week. No, I got Sue doing this. Oh, let me do that. You get Sue to go. No, it's your job. And it's like the knuckles are just dragging the ground. Like, God, fine. Yeah, I'll go. I don't want to. Go to the door. Mr. Johnson, come back. And then here I come back there, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? Doing good today? No, I'm not. I'm at work. I ain't doing good today. Hold your arm out. Okay. I mean, like, I'm wondering if it's going to fall off. You know what I'm saying? Hope you have a good day. Well, it ain't started out too good. I'm not so sure there's anything I can do to help you. Come on. Like, you want me to follow you? Yes. See room number 11? Go in there. Yes? I'll go. Sit down. I don't shut the door because you didn't tell me to shut the door. Comes by, I'm going to shut your door. Okay. I'm telling you, this did not happen. I'm just giving you just a scenario, okay? Our attitude. How many times have you seen an attitude like that around your work? And if we'll be honest, sometimes the attitude has been from us. He said work willingly at whatever you do. Willingly means you have a job, you do it. Now, I'm going to bring up my time card again. We don't usually clock in like this. Sometimes we use our ID badge or we may log onto a computer system. But when it's time for you to clock in, time to put your work pants on, your work face on. Time to work. Time to work. We may look for excuses or way to get out of it. And I remember on the farm, me and my brother, we would find creative ways to get out of it. And I remember this one time, we were working on the farm, and me and my brother, we had taken turns making so many trips to the house because the farm was on the other end, and our house is on the other end. So we were here, we were planting the back. I thought, Mom, I got to go use the bathroom, or I need to go do something. And, she's like, all right, you better hurry. And we'd be gone for like an hour in there playing Nintendo. I think Mom finally caught on, and there was this one time I was like, Mom, I need to use the bathroom. Bad. She was like, there's a tree right over there. I was like, no, Mom, you don't understand. I got it. She's like, there's a tree. It's like, Mom, this is poop. I got to go to the house. She went, nope, I'll get you some leaves. You can go right over there. I don't have to go that bad. She went, okay, let's get back to work. We went back to work. We tried to find creative ways to get out of stuff. And then Dad, he finally taught this, and there was a flip, this switch that got flipped. And we was like, Dad, we need to take a break. And this is the time we were cutting tobacco and all this. And he's like, Dad, we need to take a break. And he's like, we just did 20 minutes ago. He's like, we'll rest when the work's done. What does that mean? That we're going to work hard. We're going to rest when we need it. But we don't just take a break at every opportunity. We're going to work. We're out here to work. We're going to work. And this switch got flipped. I was like, wait a minute. If I work hard and do good and do it fast, it means we get it all done faster. That means we got free time. I told this to my brother, and it was just like light bulbs were like, if we work hard and do it right, We get free time. And we're like, what have we been doing for the past 13 years? Let's work. So, high five, we're going out and we're killing it. We are getting this done. Dad's just standing back. He's like, what happened to my boys? This is awesome. I tell you, it's a flip. This switch just got flipped. And about hard work. Now, work willingly at what you do. Work willingly. I didn't always work willingly. But if I have a job to do now, I'm going to do it willingly. Me and Super Dave have spent a lot of time talking about this. And if we're going to do something, if we agree to do something, we're going to give it everything we got. Because if we're going to give it everything we got, then why do it at all? Work willingly at whatever you do. Because of this, is you're working for the Lord. If God gives you an assignment, are you going to do it better than if somebody else asked you to do an assignment? If God were to ask you, I want you to clean your room, would you go, yes, sir, I'll do that right now, and I'll smile and not slam my door? Work willingly for the Lord rather than for people. Because when you work, you're representing God. See, God's a worker. Look back in the first of Genesis, God worked. He created the earth. He created all things. God's a worker. After you got the work done, my favorite part, he rested. Now, I spend a lot of time on work, and I don't want you to get the wrong idea, because sometimes we can take work to an extreme. So here's a word of caution here. I want you to work willingly, give it everything that you've got. But I'm talking about this with a clock in time. Okay, this is important. Don't miss this. There's a clock in time. I'm showing up to work. I'm going to get my work done. I'm going to do it. I'm going to represent God. I'm going to represent my family. I'm going to make my wife proud. I'm going to do it good. But there's another slot here when you check out, when you clock out. Because when you clock out, I put off my work hat, and I put on my husband hat, my dad hat, my church hat usually never goes off, but I put these other hats on. All right, work, that's done. That's done. Now, I'm going to focus on everything else, and I don't want you to miss this, because this is a word of caution, because your work, if you allow it, it'll consume you. Your work is not your life. You work to make a life. I want you to understand the difference. Your work is not your life. You work to make a life. It can consume you. Don't let it consume you. It represents you, but I very seriously doubt that whenever you die, there's going to be some sort of CEO of the company go, oh, I don't know what we're going to do. Johnson has left. They're going to replace you. They will. They might not do it like you. They might not do it smiling like you. But you can be replaced. But your impact will not be replaced. This is these side things that you do during life, about how you and your coworkers, when you talk, about how you pray for one another, how every now and then you'll buy their meal. You might remember them, or your wife make cookies and you bring them and you share them. Work willingly at what you do rather than the Lord for people. But I'm telling you, you need to make sure that you have some downtime, that you clock out. That you clock out. I know many of you have cell phones, and you're connected to work, you're connected to the world, your cell phones. I cut mine off every night. I cut it off. And if I forget it, my phone lets me know I forgot it, because it goes ka-ding, ka-ding, ka-ding. I'm like, good night. And she's like, what's happened to your phone? I'm like, I have no idea. Cut it off. You need to disconnect. You need some downtime. If God rested, you need some rest. So we're going to work at our jobs and give it everything that we've got, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we disconnect. We have some downtime. One of my favorite things to do, downtime, I love to spend time with my family. I love it. We like to go hiking. I like to be outside. We got this dog. I take him in the woods. I think it's therapeutic. I like to work on my own cars. I'm not good at working on your car. I'm going to work on my car. So I like to work on my car. My car, it's like it's therapeutic, because I grab this tool and I'm there and I'm working on it. And guess what the tool says? Not a word. It doesn't ask me a single question. It doesn't even tell me if I'm doing something wrong. It just does whatever I tell it to do. So the other day I was working on my car and I had to put all these brakes and everything on, and I had my dog out there and he was just looking at me, and I had my own little sanctuary. I had my iPod going on, and I was listening to old school country, Alabama. My wife came in there, she was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Alabama, baby. Work on my car." She shut the door and went back in the house. I was like, "All right, work on my car." My dog's sitting there. "All right, Murph, let's put some brakes on. That's what we're doing." You need some downtime, whatever that is. An occupation, that not an occupation, a hobby, something that you can do to get away. Some people like fishing. Some people like shopping. That's great, but don't spend more than what you can. Some people enjoy going to sporting events and games. Some people want to hang out with friends and play board games, whatever it is. But you need to be able to disconnect. Work it with everything that you've got, but you have got to make sure you have a life outside of work. And when you're not at work, you leave work at work. This is how you make a healthy lifestyle for yourself. Now, there's 3 things that I want you to remember from this today. 3 things. 1, you're in that spot that you're not in that sweet spot. Please do not panic and do not quit your job. Be patient. Be calm. So don't do anything drastic. It's the first thing I want you to do. If you're in that place that you're not in that sweet spot, don't do anything drastic. Please don't. Just trust God, which is the second thing. Trust God. He said in Proverbs again that if we would trust Him and seek to understand His understanding and not our own, He will guide us down the right path. So don't do anything drastic, but just watch for these opportunities for God to put things in front of you. And when you see that window, you take it. You take it. And watch what God does. And as you do this, I'm telling you, not only is your life going to enhance, but it's going to be great. Some of you here today, maybe you've had the wrong attitude about work. You've had the wrong attitude. That maybe you feel like that work can't go on without you, or maybe you do things begrudgingly. Change your attitude, because when we work, we're representing God. Work it with everything that you've got. And maybe you're like, I don't want to. I don't even like my job. Remember, we're going to go back to number 1. We're not going to do anything drastic. We're going to be patient. Number 2, we're going to trust God, and we're going to have the right attitude. Have the right attitude. Dave Ramsey says this, and Dave Ramsey is a big financial guy, big on business and work ethic. He says this: if you're in that place that you don't really like your job, do it so good the competition comes and asks you to come join them. I love that. Do your work so good, so hard, that the competition tries to draw you away. That's how hard you can work. I don't know where you're at in your work, but the only way your work attitude is going to get any better is if you focus on it. You focus on it. And as you focus on it, there's 3 areas. Don't do anything drastic. Trust God to lead you down the right path, and your attitude. Now, after saying all that, if I were to ask you, how do you view your work? What would your response to me be? What would your response to me be? Would it be, man, I've got a great job, I've got it made? Would it say I've got the right attitude, or would you say I have the wrong attitude? Would you say I'm not in that sweet spot, I need to be patient? Or would you say I can do better? Could you imagine what would happen if all of us went into work Monday morning with smiling faces and we took donuts? Could you imagine what kind of change it would be? Man, you talk about lighting people up. You bring a donut in and they're like, heaven has opened up its windows. I'm telling you, it's unreal. Unreal. Could you imagine what kind of impact that would have on the people around you? Some of them are going to be grumpy because it's Monday morning. They're going to be like, what kind of happy juice did you drink this morning? You're like, man, I'm drinking Jesus because I'm working for the Lord today. I'm telling you, your attitude will make all the difference in the world. Your attitude. What do you need to work on right now? Are you in that sweet spot? Some of you said, yes, I'm in that sweet spot, but I've had the wrong attitude. Then we're going to have the right attitude. I'm going to work hard, like it said in Colossians 3:23, and I'm going to work willingly. When my doctor asks me to do something, when my boss asks me to do something, when my coworker asks me to do something, I'm going to go, yes. Now listen, do not let them take advantage of you. Make them get to work too. Everybody needs to work. I'm not going to do your work. I'm going to do my work. I'll help you do your work, but I ain't going to do your job. We work together. Could you imagine what kind of environment would change? Church, I'm telling you, it would change your work environment. Your work environment can change by your attitude. You, one person. Because that's going to impact somebody else. It's going to impact somebody else. It's going to impact somebody else. And it's going to impact the whole department. They're like, man, what's happening over there? And that part of the hospital, They're like working hard, and we didn't even ask them to or threaten them. What's going on? And they're like, man, we're having a revival down here. It's great. We're loving Jesus and working hard and taking care of patients and mopping up blood and puke, and it's great. And they're like, can you teach that to these people? I'm telling you, the right attitude will change your work. How's your attitude when it comes to your work? I'm going to ask you to bow your head and close your eyes for a moment as we pray together. Father God, we love you and thank you for all that you do for us. We thank you for our health and the ability that we can work. We just pray, Father, that we'd have the right attitude as we do this work. As you continue to pray, there's some of you here today that you're not in that sweet spot, and I'm telling you right now, you don't want to do anything drastic, but you know that you're not in that sweet spot. May I pray for you, for your patience, that you would just trust God. If you're in that spot today right now that you're struggling with that patience and trusting God, may I pray for you. You just slip your hand up and say, yep, PJ, pray for me. Hands are going up right now. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Trust God. Father, I pray for those. I pray, God, that they would trust you, see you through it. As you lead them down the right path, they would seek the opportunity as you present it. And they would say no to the things that they don't need to do, but they would have the right attitude as they go through it. As you continue to pray, there's others of you, and you know that when it comes to you and your work, that you've had the wrong attitude. Whether you're watching online or on Facebook Live, or whether you're here with us today, you've had the wrong attitude. And you know that your attitude is not being what it needs to be. And God has convicted you of that this morning. And Colossians 3:23 has really hit you right between the eyes. And He's asking you to work willingly at whatever you do. May I pray for you? You slip your hand and say, yes, Pastor, that is me. I've had the wrong attitude when it comes to my work, my school, my family. May I pray for you? We just slip your hand up. Nobody's looking around. I just want to pray for you. Thank you. Thank you. God, I pray that you'd lead us and guide us. We'd have the right attitudes. That we would be able to do this work willingly, not begrudgingly. That we could be excited about our work. And God, I don't know that anybody that wants to go to work on Monday morning, but since we get to, let's give it all we got. God, I pray for everyone here that you'd lead us and guide us and help us. That we'd make a difference in this world. We wouldn't allow our work to consume us. We'd take some time off and we would enjoy going hunting or fishing or hiking, whatever it may be. But God, when we're there to work. We're going to clock in and do our work, and when it's time to leave, we're going to clock out. But while we're there, we're going to give it our very best. And we're going to focus on our work. I pray, God, that you'd lead us and guide us. That as we focus on our work, and as we represent you, you'd be honored and pleased through our work. God, I pray for everyone here, every family, everyone watching online. God, that they'd feel your presence in their life. And that if there's anybody here watching this, anybody listen, and they're far from you, God, I pray right now, God, that you would touch them. Let them know that they are not too far gone. For Paul said in Ephesians 2, we are your workmanship. We've been created perfect, Father. So may we do our work like you created us to. May we represent you well. And as we go to work, may we make our families proud. May we not bring shame unto our church or unto you, God, but may we work with everything that we've got. May our attitudes be the one that changes our work environment. And may our attitudes spur a work ethic into others because they see it begin in us. We thank you, Father, for heat and being able to come to worship you today. And we pray, Father, that you lead us and guide us throughout this week. That as we go to work, as we go to our homes, as we go to these places of business, that people would see Jesus all over us. May it be in our smile and our work ethic, and may we let people know that we serve the living God. God, we love you and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. Would you take a minute and give God some awesome praise? God, I love you so much. And I pray that